Hi everybody, my name is Yvonne Johnston. I'm a consciousness coach and a leadership development expert. You know, as a coach, one of the things I really love is that we get to know the most intimate details about people's lives, their stories that make them who they are. And so many of them are so inspiring. And I thought today I'd share two stories that have really touched my heart in the last few weeks. The first one is the story of a smart black woman, and I'm naming her color only because it has relevance in this story. And the relevance is that 30 years ago, pre-democracy, she wanted to study science at university. And there she was sitting in her science class when the professor walked past and said, "What are you doing here? You know, people like you shouldn't be doing sciences. You should be doing HR and the soft skills." And her response, her very angry response to that, was to put her head down, to give up the drug, sex and rock and roll of university life, and to, with absolute tenacity and determination, come first in her class. And she has carried the wound of that conversation with her for 30 years. And so we decided to unpack it the other day. And I said to her, what was the gift in that question? And she looked at me a bit horrified, as if there was a gift in this ghastly, bigoted man's point of view. And she thought for a few minutes, and then the tears just started to roll down her face as she realized that that throwaway comment had motivated her entire life. He had given her the most immense gift that day, the gift to fight back, the gift to show everybody what she was worth, the gift to demonstrate her intelligence. And to this day, she is a leading light in one of the major multinationals in our country, managing huge swathes of Africa. She's very, very high up in the organization. And she began to realize that without that comment, that horrible, horrible, wounding comment, she might not be where she is today. And so there was a massive gift for her. The second story is of a young woman who's beginning to step into the public arena. And her story, every time she's asked it, and she's asked it often, makes her cry. And she said to me, "Yvonne, how can I tell my story without crying?" And so I invited her to look at the other perspective. Her story was one of being in an abusive relationship, as so many women find themselves in. And the pain is immense, there's no question. But I said to her, who would you be without this story? What are the gifts in this story? And she began to realize that her absolute power, her warrior woman, the warrior woman in her, that lioness of Africa in her, came from that time. And so we reconstituted her story into what the benefit of that abuse had been, which sounds a bit horrible, I know, but the truth is that it had taught her so much. It had taught her to stand up for herself, to be proud of herself, to overcome, to now find another story. And so that's my question for you this week, is what stories have you got going on in the movies in your head that determine your behavior? Can you change the story? Is the story working for you? And if not, what is the great gift? What is the benefit of that story? Because sadly, as human beings, we often, not always, but often only learn through the pain. And so I'm going to invite you to look whatever pain you've had in the face and say, what is the gift in this for me? What can I learn from this? And who would I have been without this pain, this trauma, this upset? And so often we would have been lesser people. So I'm going to invite you just to look at your stories and to change them this week if they're not serving you. Have a really beautiful week.